Body shot, ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When the adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. UFC Austin was something else. Arguably, this was one of the best UFC fight nights of all time. I mean, in retrospect, if we really go down the list, maybe I can find a contender or two, but in recent memory, UFC Austin, right after the aftermath of the madness that was UFC 275, I mean, words can hardly do it justice. All I can say is that there was 13 bouts, 9 finishes, 8 knockouts, 1 submission, and this is another one of those cards similar to UFC 275 in Singapore, where Uncle Dana said, hey, if you're putting on a good show, if you guys are getting a bunch of finishes, everybody gets a bonus. Everybody gets 50K. And with that being said, I think 10 total fighters got a 50K bonus. That's including the fight of the night with Calvin Kattar and Josh Emmett. So this was a great, fun night of fights, and there is a lot to unpack. So let me bring in my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber, AJ. Brother, I mean, listen, this is in your hometown. Not hometown, I guess I should say, but your newly formed hometown of Austin, right? This is the first event that we've had in Austin in quite some time. You have Joe Rogan in the stands, not even watching. He's just coming through as a fan. You have Uncle Dana sitting here getting up out of his seat after every other performance. You just had madness, brother. What do you make of this entire situation?
Man, I guess, we said it earlier in the pre-show, Derick, the Texas fans or the Texas fire comes to play, man. You can't leave it to the judges. That's why there's 9 finishes on this card. They knew, man. They knew that there's, even when you step into the Texas ring, you got to bring the fire, man. It was a lot of fun. And sold out crowd at the Moody Center too, man. Sold out crowd for Texas. It really showed up. It was a big event right after a huge main card, man. Crazy to see a fight night like that.
I agree, brother. And I mean, this is one of those cards too where a lot of moving and shaking took place. A lot of people are going to be solidified in new positions in their division. A lot of people got a big bump, win or loss. And a couple of those fights that we're going to talk about in a second includes Calvin Kattar, Josh Emmett. Even though one of them had to lose, I feel like nobody really lost in that fight in the grand scheme of things. Damir Ismagulov, Guram Kutateladze, who really lost right there. But I will say, man, we did see some unprecedented stuff too. And that goes kind of coinciding with, let me bring up my stats right here, brother, because I had a couple things I wanted to write down. You feel me? We had Jeremiah Wells. He became the first fighter to TKO Court McGee since 2016, man. That is a milestone if I have ever seen one. We definitely had an argument for best UFC debut of the year when we're talking about Natalia Silva's domination win over Jasmine Jasudavicius, man. I mean, that was something else. Once again, I mean, I'm even watching it right now. I have it running on the TV as we're recording this right now, watching it back, just being like, God damn, what a masterclass, what a clinic. And you remember in the pre-show, I was like, I don't really know too much about that Natalia Silva girl. Well, look at that. Way to make a debut. We also have one of the best cases, I think, currently right now for round of the year between Julian Marquez and Gregory Rodriguez, brother. Listen, the whole entire point that I'm trying to make is that there is just a lot of madness that took place and we have a lot to get into. So let's not mince words, brother. Let's get into the proper recap. How about we? So, AJ, brother, I hate to admit it, but you got the job done this week. This week was supposed to be my time to shine. This week was supposed to be the week that I leveled up, but you got it done slightly on the money line. 3-3, 2-4 for me. And folks who were tuning in last week who see that the board is a little bit different right now, you will notice that me and AJ basically, the Donald Cerrone versus Joe Lauzon, that basically has come into Tony Ferguson versus Khabib territory. Keeps getting canceled. This time Lauzon got hurt. Last time Cerrone pulled out. There might have been a time before that where the bout got scrapped. Yeah, man, it didn't happen. It was weird. But in replacement, we put Adrian Yanez versus Tony Kelley as the first bout of the main card. And it looks like I got the hit on that one. I was actually a little surprised, brother, when you gave me the Tony Kelley pick. But I felt like that was just for competitive advantage. I mean, am I right there?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. When you sent the text, I was like, ooh, I want the Yanez pick. But you know what? We battling, brother. I'm going Tony Kelley.
I got you. No worries, man. Gregory Rodriguez, that was our lock right there. That was one of our 2 locks. Guram Kutateladze was the other, and he got the short end of the stick in a controversial majority decision. And we'll talk about that more in a second. Brother, you hit it on the button. Joaquin Buckley versus Albert Duraev. If I said that correctly, apologies. Joaquin Buckley probably had the best performance of his entire career thus far. That was the thing of beauty. Same thing with Kevin Holland, man. I think it's safe to say, and I'll talk about this more later, but I do think it's safe to say, AJ, that the days of Big Mouth are over. It is truly Kevin Trailblazer Holland. He is back in action. It is black man, Batman, but black man, you know what I mean? It was another one of those, especially against Tim Means, a chiseled veteran, someone who has seen it all, done it all, fought against the best of the best. Did not look like he was in the best shape, I'll be honest with you. But neither here nor there. Kevin Holland looked spectacular, brother. There's nothing you could take away from him there. And then lastly, we both missed on the Calvin Kattar pick, which is, let's just say, controversial. Another close controversial decision. But at the end of the day, man, rough night at the office. But what wasn't rough was, like I said, all the action that we are here to talk about at UFC Austin. Prop bets, AJ. We'll get into it, but 1-4 apiece for us. It was a wash. A terrible night on the prop bets, but that's okay. You had an actual come around for the over and unders. 4-1 for you. 2-3 for me on the over and unders. So ultimately, AJ, you won the week. You won the whole entire thing, man. We'll just give it all to you, man. Big winner. Give you my man. Let me see if I got it. Let me give my man a round of applause. There we go. Victory walk right there. Victory lap. There we go. All right, brother. Let's talk about the props. So you hit on the Buckley TKO. And honestly, looking back on it now, I'm just like, I think I even said it. I was like, even though I'm not picking him, like, you should still put money on the Buckley TKO because it's just so prone to happen. I hit on the Yanez money line. That doesn't really count, though. And everything else, man, nothing, bro, nothing. So, shoot, I'll leave it up there. We'll bask in the hollowness that we feel, which is a terrible night at the office. But we rebound because we have a short memory. And just because we had one rough night does not take away all the other 70 other big wins that we got on the year, brother. So we back at it next week for UFC Vegas 57. We will be back with some great props and some great money line picks for you guys. Otherwise, AJ, let me just pull it up one last time. The leaderboard as it stands, 74-38. You are our leader in the head-to-head pick'em tournament, 71-41 for me. So you now hold a 3-pick advantage, brother. Hold it while it lasts, because it won't last for long, brother. I'm coming for you, my man. And before we move on, drop a like, subscribe. We're at 380 subscribers right here. So hit us up on the website, Bloody Water Podcast, and hit us up on all the social media because it is very important that you show some love. We out here putting in work each and every single day. Show some love. Do the do. Share it with your friend. You know what time it is. AJ, brother, who is the newest Bloody Water Podcast fans over there in Texas, brother? You putting your boys on over there or what?
Ooh, actually, man, I just met I have to pull up her Instagram because I forgot her name, and I'm sorry I did it, but I just met a new comic out here as well. You follow the Bloody Water Podcast, brother. Anytime and every time, it helps out a lot, folks. You share with your friends, and that's exactly what she did too. Share with a couple people, so those new subscribers might be one of the ones out here in Texas, brother.
Absolutely. So we don't know who you are, but we appreciate you. I'll say that first and foremost.
Look real quick, but
yeah. Yeah, you know what time it is. All right, AJ, we'll get back to it on the flip side. Let's get into some main card action because we need to talk about this decision, this Calvin Kattar, Josh Emmett. Let's discuss, brother.
Have you seen that replay, buddy? Your head was bouncing around like a pinball machine.
Time for some main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ. All right, my man. So one thing that I have to say first and foremost is that Josh Emmett, talk about a return, talk about a comeback from injury, talk about a man who has basically said, I will not let anything deter me. I'm 37 years old, but I want a title shot. And that's exactly what he called for after defeating Calvin Kattar via split decision. He said, hey, there's a big fight in 2 weeks. Volkanovski, Holloway number 3. I want the winner of that. Now, I think it's a little bit of a leap from barely edging out Calvin Kattar to wanting to fight Volkanovski or Holloway. I think there's a little bit of a leap there. Nonetheless, man, you shoot your shot when you got it, and this is the time to do it, my man. Let's talk about the fight. Slow start for Calvin Kattar, and Josh Emmett capitalized on that all day, man. That right hand was firing flush. Time after time after time. And I was actually a little surprised. I was like, how many times can he throw this right hand and have success with it? Just like spamming it. I felt like I was watching a video game. I was like, all he's throwing is the right hand, just time and time and time again. Hardly any leg kicks. Actually, when we look at it, Calvin Kattar was 1 for 1 on leg kicks. Josh Emmett, 8 for 9. So it was basically a bona fide boxing match with a couple takedown attempts mixed in there. What do you think for Josh Emmett's side, man? What do you think propelled him to give Calvin Kattar that slow start, man? Was it the power? Because it felt like that's the thing that was impacting him the most.
That's what I was thinking. It has to be the power, especially just spamming that big power right hand. Because all Calvin Kattar was doing was just spamming that jam for the most part, just keeping him at bay, just those little palm shots, keeping him at bay, circling out. And that's, to me, it seemed like the power that was affecting Calvin Kattar, or Josh Emmett's power was affecting Calvin Kattar so much that he kept him on that bike, man, kind of trying to keep him at distance. And I think that's what had to skew the judges a little, or sway the judges a little bit, because just having that amount of output in the beginning, and then petering off in the end. Seems like it did enough for him. What do you think?
Well, I definitely would have to say that the power was something that took away the volume of Calvin Kattar. That's kind of what I noticed the most, is that in the last fight, you see lots of leg kicks, you see lots of switching stances back and forth against Giga Chikadze. He's just piecing them up, walking in front of him. But it's kind of crazy to say that if Giga Chikadze doesn't have nearly the same amount of power than Josh Emmett does, how much power does this man Josh Emmett hold? Because Calvin Kattar, his volume, man, I mean, I'll try to pull it up while we're talking and whatnot, but he landed 130 significant strikes out of 375 attempts. And I think that's very low in comparison to his last outing and the numbers in his last outing. So, AJ, real quick, just fill time for me real fast while I go look this up, brother. What do you make of just that, the lack of volume, man? Is it clear, bona fide truth now that Calvin Kattar has to be a volume guy in order to win? He cannot rely on picking his shots and trying to be precise. He has to do massive output. That's what I thought the cardio edge was going to be for. I was like, you got 5-round cardio ready to go. You're putting that volume out, but it just didn't happen. So talk to me.
Well, and he did run away with it a little bit in the end. You know, as the fight progressed, you saw Calvin Kattar, especially I had the 5th round for Kattar. So that's what I was a little surprised by the judging. But it's a razor close fight. You can't be too mad at it. But it seems that is the route, man. Having to be that technician, having to be solid on the feet, hit a couple combos, bounce out, get away from that power. And especially, you know, when as the sleeping dog of Josh Emmett comes to comes to a wake up and finally get back into the fold and into things. Maybe he didn't know that Josh Emmett had that kind of power, you know, kind of underestimating a little bit, feels one of those right hands the first time and realizes like, oh shit, I'm kind of in a little bit more than I bit off than I can chew. And it was crazy to me to see it against a Giga fight too, man. I thought Kattar was going to come in with some heavy shots, a lot of pressure. But apparently Emmett has that power, man. What'd you find out?
Well, brother, this is actually what's interesting to me is that when you look at it, this is pretty much on par with what he's done in his last 2 fights. 130 significant strikes against Emmett, 144 against Chikadze, 133 against Holloway. I mean, and then everything else kind of peters off from there. Everything tapers off from there. So literally it goes to show that at the end of the day, he had the same volume. So I don't know, man. Now that's interesting to me. Now it makes me wonder. Judges, brother, what happened? And we'll take a look at that, actually. Let's actually do that right now. Let's take a look at what the judges had to say, brother, because they viewed it very interestingly. Doug Crosby, he actually is the sole judge to give the fight to Kattar. So he gave Kattar's round 2, round 4, and round 5. And I actually kind of agree with that one, man. I think that's the most fair assessment of how the fight took place. Sal D'Amato, of course, gave round 1, 2, and 3 to Emmett, and then 4 and 5 to Kattar. And I can also see the argument for that. I can see them being like, hey, these rounds were close, but Emmett kind of edged it out because he basically had all the momentum in round 1 through 3. And then Chris Lee gives Emmett rounds 1, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 3, and 4. And I think rounds 4 and 5 were clearly Kattar, but rounds 4 was clear. It's like the clearest of day round for Kattar. So when you look at it, it's not just the judging you have to take a peek at. You have to look at what did the media score it as, man. And this is overwhelmingly in favor of Calvin Kattar. Obviously, you got one outlier, 46-49 for Kattar. Yeah, I don't know about that, but 47-48 for Kattar. I thought that was fair. Only maybe it's like 5 to maybe like 10 to 15. 5 for Emmett, like 10 to 15 in favor of Calvin Kattar, brother. So I think it's fair to say that Calvin Kattar, I'm not going to yell robbery. I refuse, because it was a very close fight. And at the end of the day, it is a fighter's job to do enough for the judges to score it in their favor. But at the end of the day, man, I think this is going to be a big learning lesson. And I actually think this is going to be a big derailing factor for a Calvin Kattar, because given his status, his age, he's probably going to have to string together another 2-3 good wins to get himself back into title contention. And that's kind of the question here. What happens if Holloway wins against Volkanovski in the trilogy, and then they got to run it back, make it a 4th fight, and then Josh Emmett's the next contender, and then, you know, Calvin Kattar, excuse me for the stutter on that one. AJ, man, Calvin Kattar, he doesn't fight a lot, bro. Like, you fight once a year, maybe twice a year, just because of these wars that he's getting himself into, man. So let me ask you, are we marking it to the point right now with this loss to Josh Emmett marks that there will be one last good run for Calvin Kattar, or do you think he'll stick around for a while?
Man, I'm on that one run train for Calvin Kattar, man. Even let's say all goes well, you know, Volkanovski, Holloway starts to pan out. Yeah. Sure, Josh Emmett gets the next shot. Calvin Kattar is like 2-3 fights away, man. So I don't really think he is, you know, going to stick around 5+. You know what I'm saying? Like 5+ fights for Calvin Kattar sounds a little crazy. I just pulled up his age. It was like 34. So still not like, extremely old, but starting to get to that point where he must be thinking about, the cards, the deck of cards that's laid out in front of him. And honestly, man, even one fight away for Josh Emmett seems a little bit of a stretch for the title shot. Yeah. I think he's also 2 to 3, maybe 1 to 2 fights away from solidifying himself into that position. Yeah. And Calvin Kattar, it is a big. I was a little on the fence when you said derailing factor, but I can see it now because you're right, man. This dude only fights once a year. He wants to get back to where he is 2 fights down the road, man. We're talking 3 years from now. Yeah. I don't know, 37. It's a little. You're getting to that. Oh man, I just blanked his name. The one that just fought last week. You're getting into that Alexander Arlovsky.
Oh, okay. So I mean, Yuri and Glover. Is that who?
Glover. Thank you, brother.
Oh, Glover.
Thank you.
Okay,
yeah. Get into that Glover territory. I don't know why I couldn't think of Glover Teixeira. Yeah. But yeah, get into that age, man, where it's starting. You really got to make those moves.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Ultimately, Josh Emmett, he got the job done. A win is a win is a win, and that's all we can call it at this point. I do think there was no true loser. I think both of these dudes should remain where they're at. Like Josh Emmett, yeah, raise him up a little bit, but I don't think Calvin Kattar should lose his number 4 spot personally. Maybe at worst take him down to number 5, but at the end of the day, Josh Emmett, bad man, and a hell of a right hand. But lastly, brother, let me just mention this. I just had to mention this. I just felt like this was a different Calvin Kattar that we saw. I felt like this wasn't a fully on Calvin Kattar. It took him 3 rounds to wake up. They even tell him in the corner, wake up, bro. What's up? We need you to finish this guy, do something. But big win by Josh Emmett. Now, this is one of the biggest stories that I have here, brother, because Kevin Holland, man, like I said, this is basically the best I've seen him look ever, man, especially going down to welterweight, keeping that massive power that he was able to knock dudes out with that middleweight, using the get-ups he kind of wasn't really able to do at middleweight, but now he's able to do at welterweight. And to be able to do all of this after with a bum ankle, chasing down some like perfume thief, you know what I'm saying, doing Batman, Black Man stuff the day before, comes in, fights the Dirty Bird, Tim Means, brother, the Albuquerque, right, representative right there, man, the heart and soul of Albuquerque, and he kind of beats the break off of Tim Means, man. Now, Tim Means had a little success early, and they were trading, and they were going back and forth. But this is how I saw this fight play out. This is, in my head, I said, this is the key to victory for Tim Means. You have to avoid the big right hand of Kevin Holland, those big blitzes and flurries that he puts up on the feet. You have to go underneath the straight, grab his legs, put him on his butt, and hold him there. Now, AJ, let's ask ourselves, did that happen? I mean, yeah, it did. But then Kevin Holland got up. And then Kevin Holland said, you're not taking me back down. And then Kevin Holland kept putting them right hands on Tim Means, the hooks, the nice little everything, but that's them straights, man. He did a beautiful fake to like an ankle pick where he touched the knee and then brought a straight right up the pipe. Probably a nasty broken nose for Tim Means. And then he beats him up so bad, he just gives him his neck. He basically pulls a Glover, says, here, take my neck on a silver platter. And if you look at the methodologies for losses for Tim Means as of late, man, it's all been submissions, man. It's been 2 guillotines and now a Darce. So, Kevin Holland, BJJ black belt under Travis Lutter. Interesting. But he doesn't really use his jiu-jitsu, man, but put it on full display. Let's ask ourselves here, AJ. I know Tim Means is older. I know that this is a OG, but this is a huge name. This is a big statement win. Let's ask ourselves officially right here: is Kevin Holland back in the driver's seat of his career to put himself in contention to fighting for a title in the near future?
I think so. I firmly believe so. Also, what solidified my mind behind the decision, Uncle Dana said Kevin Holland can do what he wants. He wants to fight at 185. He wants to fight at 170, whatever the case. This dude can do it. He has all the media outside as well as the style on the inside. This dude's, and he's willing to chase down crackheads. Like this guy, man, he's everybody wants to see this guy do something, whatever it is in the media, man. So I think he's firmly in the driver's seat again and looking great at 170. I kind of hope he stays there and then maybe, a couple of years bumps it up to that 185. I don't know about the jumping back and forth. Do you see him doing that?
I can see him doing that because he still seems to have that sporadic nature of I just want to fight, you know what I mean? And that was kind of his whole thing. He doesn't want to do some crazy training camp for a fight. He's like, I just want to sit in there. I want to fight. I just want to take as short amount of time between my fights as possible. And that's cool. But now you have to start thinking, brother. He's getting up there in age too, man. He's, he's past 30, I think, right? Let's take a look real fast. Pull that up while I'm talking about it. So he's past 30 right now, I believe. And right now, moving back down to welterweight, he needs to capitalize as much as possible because he was solidified top 10 middleweight contender. And then you drop those losses, right? You lose to Vettori, you lose to Brunson, no contest to Kyle Dawkins, come back down to welterweight, you beat up Cowboy Oliveira, you beat up Tim Means. Now you're in contention to be talking about maybe a top 20 fighter in the welterweight division. But what's scary, brother, is that he called out Sean Brady after the win, and I was just like, bro. So let's rehash this, man. You got to the top 5 of the middleweight division. You lose to Brunson. You lose to Vettori in classic takedown fashion, and then you want to fight one of the arguably one of the best grapplers, not only in the welterweight division, in the UFC, in Sean Brady. I respect it. It's admirable. Is it a good career choice? I don't think so. Is it good to build yourself back up to where you're ultimately trying to be? I don't think so. But what's the age, brother?
29. Just under 30.
29. So, yeah, he's right there. So, he's about to enter his prime right now. So, he has time. He has more time than I thought. Either way, man. Kevin Holland, moving forward, brother, what would you rather see him at? Do you want to see him stick around at welterweight? Because he looks fast, powerful. I thought speed would be a little bit of an issue because it seemed to be the case against Cowboy, but the speed was there. I mean, what do you make of it?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking Trailblazer at 170 sounds great, man. Make a good run. And like you said, man, he still has a little bit longer. He's entering that prime. So if he needs to jump up to 185 when he hits 34, 35, yeah. Totally within the realm of possibilities, especially for how entertaining and how well Kevin Holland's mind works as well. He's willing to put himself in the right situations.
Is it unfair that the reason I thought Tim Means could edge this victory out in classic, gritty, dirty bird fashion is because everybody is going to exploit the same weakness of Kevin Holland, which is to get him to the ground, put him on his back, take away all of his offense, take away all that power, that speed. However, it seems like he's solving the puzzle, brother. And if he solves the puzzle, this is the Kevin Holland that I was banking on to beat Derick Brunson. This is that Kevin Holland. So maybe it just took a couple years of maturity, a couple years of growth and experience. But it seems like I said, he's the best he has ever looked. Now let's talk about this prop that he hit, brother. Kevin Holland hit a plus 1,400 submission prop, and his TKO prop was plus 600, which we thought was crazy because honestly, if that submission never came, that was going to be the TKO. So either way, he got the finish, plus 1,400. I just thought that was pretty incredible because whoever decided to throw a little bit of money on that, oh man, you're probably rich. You're probably rich now. But big win by Trailblazer. And in an odd twist of fate here, AJ, someone who he considers to be his son or his prodigal son in Numansa, Joaquin Buckley, he arguably had the best fight of his career thus far as well. And he did it against somebody who you used to train against, an Albert Duraev. And this was a second round doctor stoppage victory, man. I wish I had the photo, but the UFC was a little slack. And even MMA Junkie, all them, they were slacking on the photos this weekend. But the point is, you were right. And I thought that Duraev would be able to do enough to be able to slip under the big motions of Joaquin Buckley because everything he throws is big, everything, big hook, big this, big that, duck underneath, get the takedown, and hold him there. I knew Buckley's wrestling was good, but I'll tell you something that was even better. The preciseness of his offensive repertoire, the control, the poise, the precision, everything Joaquin Buckley did was managed much better than he has ever done in any other fight. And what I mean by that is that these motions weren't overextending and overswinging. Just like Kevin Holland, he wasn't doing these big overextensions. Everything was there and pulled back. When Duraev would shoot in, he'd hit him with just a little left hook, boom, blow his eye up. He'd throw him with the uppercut, boom, just right there, tight, on the money. He looked like a world beater right here, bro. He looked like a dude who I'm like, put a top 15 fighter in front of Joaquin Buckley right now, and they're going to fold. That's what he looked like to me. Given that even he was so much smaller, shorter reach than Duraev, brother, this was just impressive from wall to wall. Do you feel the same way, or do you think that this was just styles make fights and Duraev didn't have the stand-up to compete or match up with Joaquin Buckley?
No, man, I think you said it best. This was Joaquin Buckley's best fight he's had in a memorable time. Quite a while, man. He's been doing good. He obviously the knockout of the year, whole bunch of different highlights from Joaquin Buckley. But this dude seems to now not only have the moments, but have the entire fight. That's really where Joaquin Buckley's growing, man. His whole fight is now a highlight reel, and it's just looking good, man. When I saw him throwing those left high kicks up top with zero telegraph, I knew. I was like, oh, Drives in for a hell of a fight right here. This is going to be a smash spot. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I don't necessarily know if it was Joaquin Buckley's power or his speed or just the moves he was putting together that kind of seemed like it froze Duraev. Or it was the one where he was actually trying to get a takedown and then actually stopped the takedown from happening. And that's kind of what got it. Seemed like Duraev was just in his head. I was expecting a little bit better of a fight, especially them knowing each other, knowing their pros, knowing their cons, their weaknesses and all that. And then Duraev to kind of exploit that a little bit. But it looked like Buckley was just a step ahead, man. So the game plan was there. The mindset was there. The X's and O's, the hands and the feet, all looking really, really good for Buckley, man. And I think he was fighting like a man who somebody above him is calling him his son on the next fight. And I think he was trying to prove, like, I'm going to see what's up. Like, this ain't no more. So I think he had a little bit of motivation behind that one. So he can also thank Kevin Holland.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. It's just bulletin board material, as they say, right? But I do think that the other thing is that Duraev, he had noted, he was like, bro, this is going to be an easy fight for me. Joaquin Buckley, easy. You saw in the beginning of the fight, he walked to the center of the cage and was like, what's up? Let's bang. Buckley was like, bro, you really want this? You probably have to think he's probably trying to bait me to go into the center of the cage so he can shoot for a takedown. But that's the thing. He never got started, and that was the beauty. Because the Chechen machete looked very mortal. He didn't look like a machete, man. He looked like a butter knife in this fight. I'll be honest with you. But that's all thanks to Joaquin Buckley, man. This dude, Joaquin Buckley, is something else. I'll tell you what, he's grown with each and every fight, getting more controlled, faster, slicker, more powerful. And it's only a matter of time until his overall MMA game is so complete, man. I do think that Joaquin Buckley is going, even though given the beef he had with Glory MMA and the, rough around the edges nature of the fighter that he is, I think he's going to be a real deal contender, man. I don't think that this is going to be a joke right here. And when you look at the numbers, bro, I mean, he only landed 30 strikes, just total, 30 of 108. So it was very low accuracy. It's just when he hits you, man, he just cracks. So that's it right there. Doctor stoppage. Albert, I wanted to ask you this, though, for the referee's decision on this one. So the referee sees round two, the end of round two, Duraev's eye is blown up, man, probably a broken orbital or something like that. But instead of at the end of round two saying, hey, doctor, let me go check on him, he waits until round three starts. And technically, if there's technicalities, a lot of people who bet on like a round 2 TKO, they wouldn't have gotten it because it would have been a round 3 TKO because the referee waited 10 seconds into round 3 to then call for a doctor. Now, I don't know what the official ruling is right now. I don't know what they have it. It has round 2 here on ESPN, so I hope that that's what it is. But in some other sites, they might have it different. I just don't know how it affects the betting ways. But what do you think about that decision for the referee?
That's a very interesting point because on Tapology right now, 10 seconds into round 3 of 3, total fight time, 10 minutes, 10 seconds. Oh, that's one of those rough ones for the bettors. If you had that as the, if that comes into your over under play or your, two second round TKO, third round TKO, man, that one hurts right there. Cause I agree. Like when I saw the eye shut at the end of round 2, that's one of those ones where you're like, oh yeah, like get the doctor in here.
This is
like,
over.
come on,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Yeah, crazy. I didn't even think about that. That's good you pointed that out.
Yeah, it's just little things like that, man. So Joaquin Buckley, he hits on his plus 275 TKO prop. I mean, you could call that one all day. You could argue that was one of our locks, even though I wasn't picking for it. I said you had to throw money on it regardless. So big win by Numansa. And now, AJ, we're back to talking about the judges. And this was a brief intermission because so many finishes on the night. They didn't even need the judges, but we're back talking about the judges. But also, AJ, I want to point out before we even start talking about this, for Guram Kutateladze, man, he is 1-1 in his UFC tenure, right? His UFC debut was against Mateusz Gamrot, who was fighting next week against Arman Tsarukyan, right? His second fight in the UFC is Damir Ismagulov. So, I don't know anybody who's had a harder stretch coming into the UFC than Guram Kutateladze, who trains in Sweden. This is confirmed. Trains in Sweden at All-Star Training Center with Chimaev. And he put on arguably one of the most... this is how I'm going to phrase it. He made Damir Ismagulov have the toughest time winning a fight in his UFC tenure thus far, man. He gave him the closest, most competitive, hard, difficult fight that there was. And I was surprised, bro, that there was so little grappling at the end of the day between these two because takedowns, 0 of 6 for Damir Ismagulov, 1 of 7 for Guram Kutateladze, but it was basically just a kickboxing match. Mainly boxing, mainly hands from Ismagulov, but there was a lot of kickboxing from the former kickboxer himself in Kutateladze. So let's talk about it, brother. Let me ask you this. Given that the significant strikes were almost even, 79 for Ismagulov, 78 for Kutateladze. However, the mixture was so much different. Ismagulov's legs were like chopped up. You know what I mean? They're chopped up lamb right there at the end of the fight. Kutateladze was targeting that all day. In terms of the rocking nature, right? I feel like neither fighter was really rocking each other, but it was just a competitive back and forth technical scrap where you can have to surgically diagnose every round to decide who won. But the big moment in the fight came in round 3 when Herb Dean, I love you, Herb, but he did something that may have cost Kutateladze the fight. And this is what I want to talk to you about. Kutateladze, with 8 seconds left, hits Damir Ismagulov as he's on the ground with the knee to the chest. And I'm not going to lie, skims the chin a little bit, right? His head moves a little bit, but it was mainly chest. I think that's a fair assessment there. Herb Dean, because it's the heat of the moment and you can't really see, Herb Dean is like, hey, bro, hard warning. You do anything else, I'm taking a point. Da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, bro, there's 8 seconds left. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But okay, whatever, right? And while the commentators are screaming, bro, that was clean. That was to the body. That was to the chest. How do you think that affected the outcome of the fight, brother? Because I feel like that could have taken a little bit of his momentum off because he had ground control on Ismagulov prior to that. So if the judges then, and we're going to bring up the scorecards, you know what time it is, but if the judges then said, well, give it to Ismagulov because Kutateladze did some cheap shit, cost him a win, brother. What do you think?
I think so. I think it cost him a win. Not only one, you get the judges' side of it where they see like, oh, like he just got a warning. Even if they missed it or they saw what happened and they think, oh, it hit him in the head or it hit him in the chin. Now where Dean's giving him warnings, yeah, we should probably take that in consideration as a judge. I can see them thinking that, so I don't really fault him for that. But also I think with the big thing that comes into there, now you have Kutateladze thinking like, okay, I can't go buck wild in this last 8 seconds. I got to control myself just in case, because if I lose a point here, probably going to lose the fight. Ended up losing the fight anyway, so should have just went wild. But yeah, man, it's one of those ones where that's one of those optics that changes just so slightly. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one of those ones where your coach in the background is saying like, oh, that's doing nothing. And the judge is here. Oh, that's doing nothing. Oh, okay. Or like, oh, that hurt him. And they're like, oh, that punch hurt him. Oh, okay. I think it had the same kind of effect on the judges right there. Cause I also had Kutateladze winning this fight. I mean, it was very razor close. So I'm not upset, not willing to say robbery report. A little not as close as the other fight, but still good fight nonetheless.
Rounds 1 and 3, I think Kutateladze got it done, brother. However, on verdict, it does go to show Ismagulov edged out the verdict vote by 0.1 points. So I'm literally like, it's like 29.57 versus 29.58. Like it's like that razor thin of margin. So yeah, you can't scream robbery, but what you can scream is incompetent judging. And that's what we're going to talk about here. So let me pull up MMA decisions right here. So this is what's so, disappointing about this. And I'll refresh it just to make sure I got everything up and up. Doug Crosby. So they actually changed it right here, man. So initially, when these scores were being read out, and let's talk about it. When these scores were being read out, this was the scorecard. I actually wrote it down. It was in favor of Ismagulov, 28-28, 29-28, and 30-27. So you hear 28-28, and you say, how... mathematically, how is this possible for someone to get a 28-28? Who got 10-8'd? What happened here? And this is how they literally read off the scorecards, bro. And then so we say, okay, let's take a little deep dive. We look at the judging, and clearly somebody doesn't know how to do a little bit of arithmetic in good old Texas, you know what I'm saying? Because they switched them back, 28-29. So that card was actually, I believe, Doug Crosby's card. And it was supposed to be ruled 29-28 in favor of Kutateladze over Ismagulov. Then 29-28 for Chris Lee for Ismagulov. But here's crazy. Jason Staffen right here. 30-27 for Damir Ismagulov. Brother, what fight were you watching where he run rounds 1, 2, and 3? What fight was that? I didn't see that fight. And when we look at the media scores, once again, Kutateladze overwhelmingly got the nod over the media. So about 4 picks for Ismagulov, and we're looking at maybe about 12 picks for Kutateladze. So this is another one, brother, where because it got left to the judges, I'm not saying they weren't trying to get a finish, but because it got left to the judges, another fighter got the short end of the stick, and this completely changes their career trajectory. Imagine Kutateladze wins, underdog win, snapped one of the dark horses of the divisions, his 18-fight win streak. I mean, you're the new talk of the town, but now you're just another guy who got beat up by Ismagulov. That's what the narrative is going to be after the fight, even though this was such a close fight, such a competitive fight. So tell me, brother, Jason Staffen, 30-27. I mean, he must be smoking some good shit. They must got some good shit out there in Austin, brother. I guess I'll just say that. You tell me. What do you think?
He probably met up with that crackhead that Kevin Holland was chasing down, brother, because That is crazy. I don't know what fight he was watching. There wasn't another single 30-27 from any of the media judges. I bet we can ask any Joe Schmo that was out there. Nobody's going to say 30-27 for that fight card. That's kind of crazy, man. I think it's you got to remember, and they must know, like, who's judging the fight as the fighter, because you know who's reffing your fight. And if you hear Jason Staffen or Sal Diamato, you know you better finish this fight, because that is mind-blowing. I'm kind of curious on how, because that was actually the first time I've heard Jason Staffen. I'm kind of curious to see what his other records are looking like. You say it seems like there's something else. What is there?
You want to hear something crazy, brother? Because this is the real craziness right here. The crazy part is that, if I'm going to pull it up again, Jason Staffen hasn't reffed a single fight since 2018, brother. It's been 4 years since the man has reffed a fight. So that was when Sage Northcutt was fighting over there, man. You know, so 2016, he only reffed in Bellator. 2-year gap until 2018 in UFC, 2 fights, and then he finally gets a nod in 2022 on one of the most high-level technical fights there was on the entire card. So why this happened, I don't know. Because is this a UFC thing? I don't think so. I think this is a Texas Athletic Commission thing. And for the Athletic Commission to give a dude who has not refereed a fight in 4 years the nod on one of the most technical fights on the card, man, it's head scratching. I'm scratching my head, literally, bro. I don't understand it. I think that Kutateladze did not get robbed. It was a very close fight. Once again, let's really solidify on that. You cannot take away from Damir Ismagulov, who I told you I'm so high on, bro. That's why it's like a lose-lose for me. But at the end of the day, I'm more just upset with Texas judging, and I think that when you go to a place and they continuously have poor judging time after time after time after time, can Uncle Dana do anything? Can he be like, bro, can y'all fix this? Can he address this? Because he's just the UFC president, and that has nothing. He has no oversight over the Athletic Commission, correct?
Correct, man. And the worst part about it is they're the referees and the judges are also treated like the what's the word? Like the umpires in baseball, man, where they have a union. So there's no real getting rid of Staffen. But hopefully, I mean, I keep talking shit about the meeting they're going to have about the rules coming up here in a couple weeks. Hopefully they get it all settled in then too, man, because that's one of those ones that that's such a rough thing to have to worry about another person screwing up half of your pay and basically setting your career on a whole nother trajectory for not watching the fight, bro. Homeboy was probably looking at the ring girls. Like 30-27 is absolutely insane.
Absolutely, man. And I agree with you. I agree with you right there. But I will say that at the end of the day, you just have to do a little more. You have to do a little bit more. But when you get a 30-27, even after all that you did, does it really matter? I don't think so. So once again, Damir Ismagulov, he gets the majority decision victory over Guram Kutateladze. However, now that they have updated the scores, it should have been a split decision as opposed to a majority decision. So I'll leave that for what it's worth. Now, brother, this was such a fun fight. This is a round of the year contender. I want everybody to bookmark this fight. I want you to save this fight, go back to it, revisit it in a couple of weeks so you can just understand how much of a treat that we were in when the Cuban Missile Crisis, Julian Marquez, and Gregory Rodriguez decided, MMA? No, this isn't MMA. We're just going to slug it out. We're just going to brawl in the middle of this cage, and whoever goes down first wins, and Gregory Rodriguez got the nod. But is it fair for me to say, AJ, that if there was the number one way that I thought Gregory Rodriguez would lose this fight, it was fighting the way that he fought Julian Marquez in this fight, man. I don't understand it. Jiu-jitsu black belt, great grappler, well-rounded martial artist, and you say, I don't care about any of that. I'm just going to punch you until you fall. I get it. It's exciting. I get it. We're here to put on a show and do all that and get the bonus. And he got the bonus. But I felt like, I mean, bro, you can never advance to the way that I can see him. I don't think he can reach his potential if he doesn't utilize the jiu-jitsu more. But being able to knock out Julian Marquez in the fashion that he did, man, he knocked him out maybe 4 times in the span of that fight. And then at the end of the day, folded him like a lawn chair. It was a beautiful thing to see. Hats off to Julian Marquez because he put on a hell of a display of heart and toughness and just ferocity. But yeah, RoboCop, brother. He's the real deal. Like I said, underdog pick, but this was our lock of the night. So what do you make of it?
Underdog pick, man. Lock of the night. This is the most entertaining 3 minutes in entire sports, man. You want to watch something fun, like Derick said, bookmark this fight, man, because this literally looks like both of these dudes. I don't know if you've ever been down to Austin, Texas, Derick, but we got a place called 6th Street. where you go down there, you're liable to get shot. It's kind of a dirty place. It's a grungy spot. You're going to get in a fight. And it looks like these two went down the night before, got involved in the crowd and said, oh, this is what Texas is about. Because that was an entertaining slugfest, man. That was not a fight. It was a very entertaining slugfest, which we were all opening night, or not the, it wasn't the opening fight, but still an entertaining scrap nonetheless, because the opening scrap was also entertaining. But man, this one, I think Gregory Rodrigues, going back to what you're saying about him not utilizing his jiu-jitsu, I think it's strictly because he knows that the UFC is an opportunity where his jiu-jitsu is probably his career he's going to be banking on for the rest of his life, whether it's teaching, coaching, whatever the case he goes with the skill set he has. I feel like he always has that in his back pocket, so he may not be trying to utilize it a little bit right now, knowing that if I put on a show, and take this opportunity for what it is, I can make a lot more money doing that, even if I get knocked out. What do you think?
Well, I can say that he did use a little jiu-jitsu in the fight, right? There was a point where he was trying to take Marquez's back. Marquez, he got up, he stood up, he used the wall to scrape him off, and then they kind of pushed on from there. But I just feel like he is so athletic. He has Rodolfo Vieira level jiu-jitsu, brother. Like, that's how good he is. I just think you're going to run into another guy. Like, who did he run into in the last one? Armin Petrosian, right? Who is just, he has a chin, and he could strike you back, and he can crack back, and you're going to lose the fight. Even though it was a controversial, split decision loss in his last one. I mean, he didn't need the judges in this one, man. How impressive was it that he put out Marquez like this? Nobody puts out Marquez like this. How impressive was that?
Nobody puts out Marquez, and nobody sleeps him like that either, man. He just, when I saw him go down like a bag of rocks, man. Yeah, very impressive. And the crazy thing is, I forget, I feel like Gregory Rodrigues, I say this a lot, man. He looks old, but I'm pretty sure he's still somewhat young, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
30
bro.
years old. This dude, man, he's got some power behind him and a few years to keep doing what he's doing. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. Very impressive fighter.
Have I not been singing the man's praises since he got into the UFC? I saw him on the Contender Series when he lost to, and it's crazy, the dude that he lost to, Jordan Williams, right? The dude who was not even a real middleweight. He dropped down to welterweight after, and now he's not even in the UFC anymore. Like, it was kind of a flukish loss, but he came back. This is like a former LFA champion, bro. Gregory Rodriguez is the real deal. That's the whole point. But Julian Marquez, this is another one of those spots too, man, where he could have been a little smarter with his game plan too. Now, this is, I want your opinion right here, AJ, and this is going to be not controversial, but I just want your opinion on the nature of coaches giving advice to the general populace, even though they're biased, right? Even though they state they're biased, still giving out betting advice to the general populace. So, we love this man on this program because he's a great, phenomenal coach, but James Krause, he has his new, he does his betting stuff and throws it on TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff. And James Krause had kind of noted, he was like, hey, man, I just don't see any way that Julian Marquez can lose this fight. He said there's no way that Gregory Rodriguez has an easy path to winning. I think everything Marquez does is better, cleaner, faster, whatever the case may be. And then you see the outcome of the fight, and you're just like, that's your boy. Obviously, you're coaching him, right? So, of course, you're going to say that. But AJ, this is the nature that I've realized in MMA, man. You can't trust anybody, even if they're high-level athletes, even if they're the Conor McGregors, even if they're the Usmans. It doesn't matter because loyalty blinds all, man. Emotion blinds all, and that's what you're going to do. You're going to rock with your boy, and you're going to justify any excuse in your head to be like, nah, my boy's going to knock his ass out. Of course, bro. Why? Because we trained it. What do you mean? But then you fight RoboCop, and on a short-notice replacement, too, let's not forget, Marquez was supposed to fight Wellington Turman. Short-notice replacement, Rodriguez steps in, and he just fucking crumbles you like a bag of chips, bro. You know what I mean? Like, he just crumbled, done, whatever. So for coaches and people who are invested emotionally, should they be giving advice in the first place?
Oh, no way, man. That's one of those ones where you're too close to the forest so you can't see the trees or whatever the saying is, because that's one of those ones where you think you're locked in, you're ready to go, you've done all the training in the world, your boy's gonna smash this dude when he walks in. And then not necessarily the case, man. When you're in there training and coming from a coach, man, in my own self to my athletes, I can always see those same things where I'm 100% confident this is going to happen. And then you get overlooked. Your own ego gets a little bit hurt whenever you see something like this happen. So I think this can be a big learning moment also for James Krause if you can always change it into that. Because coaching, you're always learning as well. So and to that point, man, if I'm ever, if one of my students or athletes ever fighting, yeah, probably don't take my betting advice right there too, because I'm going to be a little biased as well.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to kind of point that out there because Julian Marquez, man, he put up a very valiant effort, but he did get outstruck, man, 50-13, man. It was a very one-sided affair over here. However, we know the case. He'll be back, man. This is without a doubt. This is just a rough matchup right here, but Julian Marquez is still one of the baddest men to do it, and I would still like to see both of these dudes fight a ranked opponent next. Both of them. Not just one, not just RoboCop, both of them. Marquez is a beast, bro. So moving on to the next one, man. This is arguably one of the storylines of the night right here. Adrian Yanez's win over Tony Kelley. First round TKO, and regardless of who we picked and for competitive nature and all that, this was a feel-good story. Now, let's take a trip back in time, man. Tony Kelley, he's refereeing Andrea Lee. And Andrea Lee, let me just, while I'm trying to reenact this story, let me make sure that I get my details right. Andrea Lee was fighting a Brazilian. Andrea Lee, UFC. Yeah, she was fighting a Brazilian, right? And let's see who it was. It was Viviane Araujo. So this is important to know because very Brazilian, right? Strong, mean competitor, man. Very, very talented. And I guess there's some weirdness, maybe some eye pokes going on or something like that. Maybe grabbing the cage a little bit, whatever, right? And Tony Kelley, being in the corner of Andrea Lee, because I believe that they're in a relationship or whatnot, says something along the lines of Tony Kelley, quote, "That's what these dirty Brazilians do." You know what I mean? They cheat, da-da-da-da-da. And the Twitter sphere said, what the fuck did this dude just say? Like, huh? Like, you just said what about Brazilians? This white dude over here talking mess, and you got Andrea Lee, she rocked the cowboy hat. Tony, they're like, this is just not a good look here. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter how you interpreted it, because even when we discussed it, we said, was this too far? Nah, not really. Maybe for the sensitive crowd who's like, oh, you should never say anything bad, but you're punching each other in the face. What are we talking about here? However, that turned into a little bit of heat against Adrian Yanez, because then Tony Kelley just embraced the heel and was like, all right, well, fuck everybody. You know what I mean? Whatever. I'm going to beat your ass. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So then he gets the matchup against Adrian Yanez. Everybody said, hey, Yanez, we want you to knock this dude out for us. He deserves to get knocked out. Yanez is like, bro, we're in my home state. Of course. I'm going to do that anyways. But then it gets a little heated, AJ. Then in the middle of the fight, after they're already there, set in stone, Tony Kelley, he's doing his thing and whatnot. And what ends up happening, AJ? He starts talking mess to Adrian Yanez in the middle of the fight. And Adrian Yanez, he just notes, all right, I'm gonna make you pay for that. And I think he did. So real fast, brother, give me your assessment of how the fight took place. And I'm going to pull up something that I thought was hilarious on Twitter about this fight. So just give me your thoughts on the fight while I'm pulling that up.
Man, I was with all the heat behind this one, I was actually a little nervous for Yanez going in this. You can see on the scoreboard, folks, I picked Tony Kelley, but again, going back to it, it was a late text from Derick, and this is being a competitive pick for me. So I was glad to see Adrian Yanez win, especially once you saw Tony Kelley walking in, flipping off the Texas crowd, flipping off the homies. You know, that's gonna fire somebody up, man. And especially if Adrian Yanez thinks, or his family's in the crowd or his friends are in the crowd, you're like, oh, now you flipping off my homies and my family. All right, in my state, word, let's get it, man. Very entertaining fight, back and forth, and a little closer than I was. Like I said, I was a little stressed, a little closer than I was expecting, a little stressed in there. Still, man, very. If the fight before, the fight after this wasn't the most entertaining 3 minutes in the world, man, go check out this fight too, because this is another very entertaining 3 minutes clash that these dudes are bringing it. And I want to say not a single step backwards. There was probably a couple, but this was, man, very, very entertaining. And to get put out like Tony Kelley did, very impressive from Adrian Yanez.
Yeah, I'll say insult to injury. The referee, while he's sprinting across to pull Yanez off of Kelley, ends up kicking Kelley in the head after that. So, I mean, you just got a double dose, man. You got beat up and then you got kicked in the head by the ref, and it was just a bad look. But I found what I wanted to pull up, brother. So let me see if I can get, okay. So here we go. So on Twitter, brother, they say this is how it started. Oh, shoot, that's not what I wanted to pull down. There we go. All right. How it started for Tony Kelley versus how it ended. So he comes in, he's embracing it, he's being the heel. How it started, and then this is how it ended. So we're blocking it. Hold on, let me move our screen real fast, bro. There we go. Yeah, so how it ended right there. So you give the middle finger going for Tony Kelley in the start, right? Tony Kelley being the heel, doing all that, and then Adrian Yanez giving it to him, brother. So this is just kind of the nature of the beast right here. And then as you can see in the clip, hopefully they don't take us down from YouTube for that clip. So let me block that out real fast, brother. But that's just kind of what I wanted to point, man, is Cheeto Vera said, he put on a tweet, man, I think it's funny because, he got that broken English. He was like, sometimes you give the middle finger and life gives you the middle finger back. And it's like, well, that is kind of what happens, man. It's going to be a very long, quiet trip home for Tony Kelley. But either way, man, that's the name of the fight game. That's always something that I wondered, man. I was like, when you have so much brashness, when you have so much bravado, when you're like, fuck everybody, I'm going to knock you out, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then you're the one who gets knocked out. And then after the fight, bro, you not only do you get knocked out, you then start talking shit again to Adrian Yanez, being like, I wasn't the one out, you were out. And he was like, bro, you were facing the complete wrong way. Like, what? Like, how do you argue with somebody like that? AJ, let me ask you that. How do you argue with somebody after you knock them out? He's like, bro, I didn't get knocked out, you got knocked out. Like, what do you even do at that point?
Man, once you go heel, you'd never turn back, man. You follow the Uncle Chael strategy, undefeated, undisputed. I think that's Tony Kelley. That's the only way you can go after that, man. Once you turn heel, you're flipping everybody off. Might as well keep it going because the worst thing's already happened. You already got your ass beat, so might as well keep it rolling. I think that's the only thing Tony Kelley was thinking, man. And the only other than that, I say don't read the comments, Tony, because they're gonna be roasting you. But yeah, man, I think there's only option. What else do? You don't say sorry. You don't go Kobe Covington and, hey man, this is all for money. Like, while the mics can hear you, like you got to go full heel.
Yeah, bro, you got to commit. It's just like doing a front flip, right? Once you start, you in the air, you got to commit, bro. You just got to. So, listen, man, rough for Tony Kelley because not only do you get beat up on a dude you were talking shit about, not only is there the backstory, you also missed weight. And this was a 138-pound catch weight bout. So, yeah, you forfeit part of your purse, and you made no money. You got beat up. You got embarrassed. This is just a terrible look overall for him. But this is a great look for Adrian Yanez, given that home state win. Probably getting another fat Dr. Pepper sponsorship or something like that, because this dude's a big Dr. Pepper proponent. This is a dude who is now 5-0 in the UFC, 4 knockouts, 1 split decision, notable wins over dudes like Randy Costa, wins over Tony Kelley, right? Has wins over Victor something Morales or Victor Martinez or something like that. Either way, Adrian Yanez, man, he's knocking out everybody. He's going to show that his hands are the crispiest things out there right now. He has crisp boxing, but AJ, man, is it inevitable? And I don't want to say that this is the truth, but I kind of feel like this is where it's heading. You got to start feeding the man to some form of Dagestani wrestler. You have to give it to him now. You know what I mean? You can only have so much success before they say, okay, pal, we get it. Your boxing is phenomenal, but what are you going to do when somebody tries to wrestle fuck you for 15 minutes? What are you going to do then? Huh? Do you think that's the next logical step?
I think that's the next step for Yanez, unfortunately, man. They're going to have to give him somebody that just has that smash style, especially for how, what's the word I'm looking for? Like how proficient it is, or how, how much that is in the sport, man. Yeah. I think that's Adrian Yanez's next fight.
Yeah. I think we could say maybe how just like, I feel what you're saying. I'm blanking on the word.
Prevalent.
Too. Yeah, prevalent. There. God damn. How does that happen? Yeah, got to clap one time. There we go. Prevalent. Right on the money, brother. Actually, you know what I mean? That was some good work right there. Round of applause. Prevalent. There we go, brother. All right. All right, man. So that was your main card, Adrian Yanez. Like I said, this is just so star-studded between it all, right? Yanez knockout, Rodriguez knockout, crazy back-and-forth technical fight between Kutateladze and Ismagulov, Buckley knockout, Holland submission, and then you get that banger of a close fight between Emmett and Kattar, man. Fun fight, man. So before we move on to all the other stuff, man, rankings review fighter of the night, I just want to talk about a couple of prelims, brother, because there were so many fun fights. We said don't miss the prelims, and we meant that, man. So another one, man. Natalia Silva. Let's talk about it, bro. 120 strikes to 40. She corralled her like she was like herding dogs out there. You know what I mean? Like she was just giving it to her. Footwork is impeccable. She's supposed to be the submission threat, man. She's supposed to be this jiu-jitsu fighter where she's armbarring everybody in her last couple of fights. But guess what? You get up there, Jasudavicius, man. She was just kind of following, and she was getting picked apart from round 1 to round 3. One of the most impressive UFC debuts that I've seen in quite some time. What did you make of it, bro?
Man, so impressive. And the fact that Silva was able to keep going the entire fight the way she did, man. Super pressure. Very, very powerful, man, in there. And like you said, it's supposed to be the submission. It's supposed to be the one that's, on the back foot, trying to look for the sneaky way to win the fight. She said, fuck that. I'm knocking on the door. I'm coming in the front. I'm not even taking my shoes off. I'm fighting Jasudavicius the right way, or not the right way, the way she wants to fight, man. It's going to be a fun one. Very entertaining scrap, and it's the way to make your name in the UFC like that, especially when you have a card as packed as it is, 9 knockouts. You come in, you do something like that, you still get the decision, but it was a damn memorable fight nonetheless.
Bro, is it fair to me that, moving past this fight, because yes, obviously Silva, she did an incredible job. Is it fair that we had 2 ridiculous sleepers back to back, man? Maria Oliveira, brother. I mean, I know that a lot of people, especially if you've been tuning into the show regularly, you're probably thinking, oh, this dude's just hyping her up because he was with her at the jiu-jitsu tournaments. No, brother, I'm telling you, long, lanky. My jiu-jitsu professor, brother, he actually, his sister that used to live with Maria Oliveira together. So there's that connection right there, man. I know what she's doing in terms of putting in work in the gym, right? In terms of her striking, Muay Thai background, very aggressive, and one of the most boisterous, bravado-filled, just like, goddamn, she was over here licking blood like, yeah, what's up? Come on, let's fight. Like getting after it. And I was just like, damn, doing that to Gloria DePaula, whose girlfriend is Maeda Bueno Silva. So, you might have to deal with some more beef after the fight. You feel me? And she was still doing that. If she continues to do this in her division and rack up wins, man, she's quickly going to become a fan favorite, bro. Because, yeah, she don't speak English. It's all Portuguese. But at the end of the day, the fighting speaks for itself, man. And that was entertaining as hell. What'd you make of it?
Man, very impressive, man. And I actually caught this one at work for a second too. So I saw people staring up and just like mouth agape. And they're like, wow, these girls can really fight. And I turn around and sit there for, 5-10 minutes watching them absolutely scrap pack it up, bro. This was fun fight. Yeah. And what I love about it too, the women's division are getting so much like more aggressive, better. They've been arguably technically better for quite a long time, but now the power's coming, the aggression's coming, the viciousness, like Derick said, the licking of the blood, that kind of everything that scares the casuals but excites the hardcores. Now they're spending a little both. And when you see 2 girls on a screen, you don't think, the normal people don't think. And this is in Spicewood, Texas. So shout out Spicewood. You know how soft you are out there. They were pretty excited to see 2 girls fighting, which blew my mind a little bit, man. So I think it's a good thing, and one hell of a fight too, man. Very impressive. All the women on this card, very impressive fights all around.
Absolutely, brother. But I have a little bit of news to say that the fight game is unforgiving, man. And even when you have sleepers here, not a sleeper of ours, but just a sleeper fight in general, man, just because you were entertained by it doesn't mean that the aftermath isn't going to be brutal, bro. And check this out. Duran Wynn versus Phil Hawes, man. Phil Hawes kind of beat the brakes off of Duran Wynn, rocked him early, and Wynn was never able to recover. And this is kind of one of those things. I mean, you see the tweet that I put, the fight game is unforgiving. It is absolutely unforgiving, man. So for those who are just listening, this is a pretty beat up picture with a broken orbital on Duran Wynn. He's going to require surgery on. And he says, I'll be okay. Tough fight. I got rocked early and I couldn't recover. I devoted my life to this camp. Thanks for all the support. I will be back. There is no question about that. And I do believe he will be back, because my fantasy question was, well, if he decided not to get picked apart for 98% of the fight and actually initiate some wrestling, how would this fight have played out? Because that's what, literally, I'm like, that's your key to victory. It just didn't happen, man. And I get it, because sometimes you get rocked, bro, and you just go on autopilot after that, and you're just trying to survive from there. So I can't say Phil Hawes looked like, bro, like basically at this point, even though Phil Hawes was a little, there was a weird spot and just for like a split second of his career in the UFC, this dude's damn near unstoppable, man. Who's going to stop Megatron? Nobody. I don't think so. Unless he keeps picking beef with the wrong dudes, man. Because I don't know if you saw after the fight, he ended up talking some mess to DC. He was all like, you picked the wrong pony over here, bro. You picked the wrong pony. And then DC's over here looking at him like, hold on, be respectful. Like, don't do that. Like, chill. You know what I'm saying? He's like, you ain't beat me, bro. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even want this fight. I tried to tell him not to take the fight. You saw what happened. Why would I want this? You didn't beat me, though. And I was, for a split second, because I think it was Herb Dean was in the middle, was like, hey, y'all need to chill. DC for a second was like, bro, I'm the double champ, brother. Don't forget, I will put it on your ass. You a middleweight, bro. So what do you make of that whole situation, man? Is it smart because you could see Phil Hawes, even though he's sweaty, he just got done with the fight, a little bit of him said, all right, bro, I'm going to chill. You got me this time. I'm going to chill. All right. What'd you make of that, bro?
I loved it, man. I absolutely loved it. When I saw what was going on, I had to literally go back and watch the clip this morning just to see what was actually going on. Cause, you want to bring it to the double champ like that. DC, he might look, with all the John Jones stuff, he always looked like the softer of the guys. But you go around, you hear some of the stories. DC is an absolute savage, man. He will not stand for it. And you can even see it with the Jake Paul standoff or anything that DC does. This dude's for real, man. He will smack the shit out of you, whether he's in a suit or tie or not. Yeah. And I was kind of surprised that Phil Haas was saying something, because I feel like that's one of those ones you have in the back. You know, you have that conversation in the back. You're like, hey, dog, what happened to your boy, bro? I told you don't want this smoke. What's up? Yeah. And then you kind of have a little something. But, man, to do it right there, it takes a lot of balls from Phil Haas, man. And I think he knew how many knockouts were going to be on this card, because he had to make waves somehow. Yeah. He had to make waves somehow. He might as well go after the double champ, I guess, man.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, brother. So from there, man, we just move on to more bangers, bro. You also had a Ricardo Ramos versus Danny Chavez. That was your sleeper right there, bro. And I'll tell you what, it was quick. It didn't last long, but while it lasted, it was fun. And it was fun because I just want to take a look real quick. I'm going to pull it up for Ricardo Ramos. This is a dude, man, who is notched now. Let me see. Two. I think just two. But two is impressive nonetheless. Spinning back elbows, man. To knock somebody out with a spinning back elbow on multiple occasions at the highest level, this is just, I mean, how do you keep doing it, bro? I mean, Calvin Kattar, he landed the spinning back elbow on Emmett. It felt like Emmett walked right through it. It was nothing. Ricardo Ramos hit Danny Chavez with it, and you could tell his whole entire, like, his head turned, and he was just like, where am I? Like, what just happened? Follow a couple punches, and he gets the job done, man. This dude is a star in the making. I really feel like this Ricardo Ramos, even though he has losses to Lerone Murphy and Tukagov, right? Went over Bill Algeo, Eduardo Garagori, that's a huge win. Danny Chavez, man, you can't knock him. Also wins over Kyung Ho Kong. You remember the same dude who just beat up on Dana Bakgari? Come on, bro. So, yeah, Ricardo Ramos, man, it was poetry in motion. What do you think?
He's a real deal, man. I put him up a sleeper for a reason. I knew this is going to be a very fun fight, man, because Danny Chavez is a dog. And that, honestly, I thought that's who was going to win this fight. I was rooting a little bit more for Danny Chavez, if I'm being for real. But both these fighters are really, really good. And Ricardo almost proved he's got some serious heat behind him, man.
Brother, in a sad news, you see I had to take the pause because I had to figure out how I want to frame this. Kyle Daukaus got the brakes beat off of him against Roman Dolidze. And I knew Roman Dolidze coming down from 205, he has the power. He has all of that, right? However, he's been taking more of a wrestling-centric approach. And then he said, instead of wrestling, I'm going to rock you, I'm going to clinch up with you, and I'm going to use my dexterity to knee you in the face and just basically put you out. And Daukaus just got off to a really slow start, man. I was even noticing in the beginning, he just looked a little nervous, a little tense, right? You know? So now the Daukaus brothers' train, unfortunately, has been derailed slightly, just slightly. This is nothing big in the grand scheme of things. Chris Daukaus will be back, of course. Kyle Daukaus will be back, of course. But now, not retaking that Kevin Holland fight, and now you get knocked. It just, things are getting played out in a weird spot. So, what do you think happened in this fight, and what do you think the trajectory for both of these fighters are in the future?
Man, I do think it comes down to the mental state of what Kyle Daukaus was going through, because I agree. He did feel timid. He didn't feel like when the Daukaus brothers came onto the scene, man, I was comparing them to the Bash brothers, you know? Like they were just in there. They had the mojo. They had the swagger. They were walking in, beating people up left and right. They skyrocketed to the top. And Chris Daukaus, man, getting I don't remember if he got a title shot or not, but up there, you know, up in the top 5 of the heavyweights. Kyle Daukaus, I thought he was going to be on to the same thing, man, you know, on that same kind of trajectory. Things started falling off for him, and you could tell the mental game's playing a lot right there. So I'm, as a Daukaus fan, and I feel like one of their biggest supporters, man, it hurts to see, but they still got a long time, man. Daukaus, Kyle is specifically, as well as Chris, both have a good time in the UFC if they can get the mind right, and especially Kyle for that last bit. If he can get the mind right there, get back to where he was, I think he'll have good things, but against a killer like Dolidze, man, it was rough to watch. I saw it, watched the knee to the face. Man, it was that one hurt. That one hurt the homies, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess the last one to talk about is basically all the prelims. Cody Stamann. And another knockout win for Eddie Wineland. So the fact that Eddie Wineland got a new contract isn't too surprising given that he's such a veteran. But the fact that you have to take into consideration is that he's lost 3 in a row, all by knockout, starting with Sean O'Malley, then got knocked out by John Castaneda, then get knocked out by Cody Stamann. So you lost, 5 of your last 6 fights. Got knocked out a bunch recently. How much longer do you have in the UFC just for your own health and safety? I'm not sure. But big win by Cody Stamann. He was like, bro, I'm getting fucked up tonight. You know what I'm saying? And he got the 50K bonus. Come on, bro. You already know what time it is. So those were your prelims, man. It was a lot of fun stuff, man. But to make sure that we're not too long on time, let's jump straight into ranking review. And brother, today it's going to be simple. We're going to talk about a dude that we've talked about before. And I just want to see our updated opinion on where you think he's at in the grand scheme of things. So let's pull it up, man. Today we're talking about Adrian Yanez, brother. Adrian Yanez, once again, gets the major win in the bantamweight division. I have him ranked at 14 in my rankings. You have him ranked at 14 in your rankings. I think that's all is fair. He is 16-3 in MMA, 5-0 in the UFC, 4 knockouts in his 5 UFC wins, and his notable wins include Davey Grant, Randy Costa, and Tony Kelley, brother. So the question now becomes, we're just going to take this very, very briefly because I want to move on here. We already know Adrian Yanez is the real deal, but once again, let's revisit. People are calling for Sean O'Malley versus Adrian Yanez. That's the fight to make. I don't know. Could be, but it could not be at the same time. So let's start with number 13. Let's just take one boost up. Frankie Edgar versus Adrian Yanez. Can he get it done, AJ?
Ooh, I think so, man. I think so. Frankie Edgar's been on a little bit of a slump. It's a good fight. It'd be a very hard fight. But I think Adrian Yanez, unless Frankie Edgar comes to wrestle, I think Adrian Yanez might be able to get that one on him.
Okay. How about right now, to solidify his spot in the rankings, do you think he can get it done against Rafael Assunção?
Yes, I do think so. I do think he can, yeah.
What about that newcomer that's all the wave these days that stole a ranking spot that Adrian Yanez wasn't able to, and Jack Shore? You think he could beat Jack Shore?
I don't know. I saw that one as well, man. I don't know. Jack Shore, that's a hard fight, and I think that's a very interesting fight too.
Yeah. I think that would definitely be an interesting one. And one that I think is even more interesting than that is, given that Sean O'Malley and Pedro Munoz are matched up, right? And Song Yadong, believe it or not, at 9 is matched up with Corey Sandhagen at 4. There's going to be a lot of limbo spots in there, man. So when we start talking about the Song Yadongs, the Dominic Cruzes, the Rob Fonts, do you think Adrian Yanez still needs a couple more fights before he can get to that level?
One or two. The Song Yadong, who'd you say he's fighting again?
He's fighting Corey Sandhagen, brother.
That's going to be a very interesting one to see how that shakes up. And I believe who did Marab just sign a fight with?
Jose Aldo.
Jose?
Yeah.
Huh?
Jose Aldo.
Yeah. Aldo? Yeah, man, there's going to be a lot of moving and shaking going on right there. So if we can get like a Adrian Yanez to fight like a Ricky Simone, or even like you said, a Frankie Edgar or something, and then the next fight shake up whatever's happened up in that top division right there, man. I think that's the way Adrian Yanez really starts making waves.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think it's safe to say I can put Adrian Yanez safely probably in my top 10 to 11 right now, safely. I personally believe so. Whether you agree, that's time will tell. But I think right now he's putting on such a display. All he needs to get is tested in the wrestling. That's it. We already know the hands, man. If you stand up with him, it's going to be problems. But with that being said, Adrian Yanez, he's the real deal. You know what time it is. And that is your rankings review, folks. So, AJ, moving on to the fight of the night. I hope you didn't spend too much time on this because we're going to switch it up today.
Right now, there is not a man on this planet that can stop me inside this octagon. The celebration is more work than the fight.
Fighter of the night. Now, the reason why I hope you didn't spend too much time on this is because given the nature of the results at UFC Austin, given the generosity of an Uncle Dana to say everybody who got a finish, you get 50K, I think that we should do something along the same lines of what Uncle Dana did. And given that we make the rules on this program, we can more or less do whatever it is that we want to do. So what I think is fair is to say 9 finishes, 8 knockouts, 1 submission, 1 incredible fight of the night for Calvin Kattar and Josh Emmett back and forth technical battle. I think it's safe to say that fighter of the night goes to the UFC Austin fight card. All 13 scraps. You are our fighters of the night. I think it is fair assessment, AJ, and I hope you agree with me because this was such a star-studded, action-packed card. You were entertained from the first fight to the last fight. No breaks in between. All these dudes, hats off to you guys. You guys are awesome. And yeah, that's how I feel. What do you make of it, brother?
I think you need to hit that sound cue for the applause, Derick, because I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, man. I'm glad you did it for this one because I've been debating like 4 different fighters to make my fight of the night, and I didn't know which one to do. Yeah. So I'm glad you pulled the trigger and did it like this, man, because there was so many good fights, so much talent out there. Whether you go in, Joaquin Buckley, Kevin Holland, the story behind Yanez, the scrap. There's so many good fights that happened all through this Austin card. I'm again a little sad and disappointed in myself. I didn't get to watch it live, but I'm glad, folks, you're here with us either way because it was a scrap nonetheless, man.
Absolutely. So easy, concise, UFC Austin fighter of the night. Easy. Now, AJ, brother, last piece of business. I only got one thing to talk about today for our word on the street, man. And this is just something that you probably already are like, yeah, I probably already could tell this, man. But at the end of the day, Dana White has noted that the multimillionaire Amanda Nunes is not the same hungry savage that she once was prior to, getting the belt and getting all these accolades and all that. And it's really just the headline that I want to talk about, man. It's inevitable that if you reach the acclaimed status of a double champ, just champion in and of itself, multiple reigning champion, holding down a division for 3+ years, man, getting pay-per-view after pay-per-view, highlight after highlight, sponsor after sponsor. It's hard to wake up at 6 a.m. and, do your road work when you're sleeping in silk pajamas and silk sheets right there. So this is going to be the story for anybody, whether it's a Conor McGregor and Amanda Nunes. I'm surprised at the Jose Aldos, man. He's still game and he's still competitive because he was successful for so long. But the Sean O'Malley's, even though he's young in the game and he hasn't really achieved what he wants to achieve yet, all of these dudes, man, inevitably, they're all going to reach the status and they're not going to be as hungry as they once were. And while I think that's just a necessary part of the game, I also think that shouldn't necessarily deter you from being a hungry savage because now you have reasons to be a hungry savage for other reasons. Maybe not because you're hungry, but now Amanda Nunes, for an example, we were expecting her to go mama lion mode, you know what I mean? Like protect her cubs. And then what happened, brother. So what do you make of the headline?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Derick, because even though it is hard to wake up and do the 6 miles in the morning because you're sleeping in the silk pajamas and the silk sheets, as the saying goes, I think you're fighting for a different reason there, man. You're fighting to protect what's yours, which is almost more appealing to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong, the grind and the chase is always appealing and always driving, a motivational force. But to protect what's yours and protect what you've already earned and worked hard for should be another motivating factor for a lot of fighters out here. And you really don't see it, which is always strange to me. But I mean, at multi-millions, it's kind of hard to jump in there and think, yeah, I'm going to go do a 2 a day, 3 hours each, just go in there and get it. Or I could chill by the pool, smoke a little, drink a little mimosa. Like, it's hard. So
let's not forget, Dana White said it himself. Hey, this is not a career. This is an opportunity. So if you're expecting these people to treat it like an opportunity, this is part of the opportunity. They say, all right, well, I did what I needed to do. I rose to the top. Now I'm taking advantage. I'm reaping the benefits of all of the work that I have put in. And with that being said, that is your word on the street, folks. Just remember, this is the inevitable process right here. You start from the bottom, you get to the top, and of course, there's going to be another hungry dude at the bottom who's looking to take your spot. That's just the cyclical nature of the beast that we're in. So, AJ, brother, that is it. Hell of a card, man. Lots to unpack and all that, and hopefully we unpacked all of it for you guys at home, man. So we appreciate you. Drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as you can see in the corner of the screen, and if you're just listening, fun bout next week. Arman Tsarukyan versus Matos Gamrot. And I'm going to butcher that name a million times, and I apologize, but this is going to be a bona fide main event. And if you're looking at this and you say, who is that? Who versus who? I haven't heard of this. I'm not going to watch because it's going to be a boring, lackluster bout. You're crazy. We're letting you know right now. You need to tune in next week on Saturday, watch the fight, and if you want to know who you need to watch out for, then you tune into us on Friday when we're breaking down the whole entire preview show. So the last thing that I feel like I need to say that's necessary that we didn't mention, we're recording this on Father's Day. Now, of course, by the time that this episode drops, for the video version at least, Father's Day will have passed. But I also think it is important to show love, pay homage to all of these dudes who got the Father's Day win here on Saturday night, so for the Father's Day's weekend. But even though I'm not a holiday guy, AJ, and I don't know how you feel about this, man, I think that every day should be your respective mother and Father's Day. Every day is birthday. Every day is the celebration of life. Listen, man, anybody can, what's the saying go? Anybody can be a parent, be a dad, but not everyone can be a father. Is that kind of how it goes?
Anybody can have a child, not anyone. It takes a real man to be a father, to raise a kid.
Yes, sir. And that's the hard truth right there. I believe that is absolutely the truth, the fact of the matter. And I salute anybody out here who is taking the time and effort to really instill morals and values into their children, because you're raising the next generation. You know what time it is. So, AJ, man, you got any last words before we get out of here?
Man, I think you said it best, Derick. Just to piggyback on what you were saying about Father's Day. You know, luckily for me, I have both my parents in my life, and I wouldn't be anywhere near what I am if it wasn't for mom and dad. So both parents go well. So I hope all the people out there, you do get to celebrate with your family. And like Derick said, every day celebrate the life and the gift you have. Make it good, but also at the same point, you know, you're going to be here next Friday. We're going to be rocking with us. It's going to be a very fun fight card. So make sure you share with your friends. Do all the stuff you're talking about. And you already see I'm wearing the merch too. We still got the merch on deck, all the good stuff. But again, thank you all so much for celebrating or for being here with us. That really is just a thank you. Even for the subscribers online, man, it makes a world of difference because we're going to be here grinding regardless. So it's good to see y'all here with us.
Absolutely. So rock with us while you can, because while this might be the upstart, you don't want to wait until it's too late. You want to be the crowd that said, oh, I've been watching those dudes since they had 40 subscribers, right? Listen, man, 300 and something later, man. I mean, listen, it's already been a tale of tape right there, a journey in and of itself. So enough of our spiels, enough of our talking. Until next time, folks. Peace.